Alright, I guess I'm live on Facebook. First time going live, so I'm not sure how this thing works. But it's interesting. Step right up, hurry, hurry, before the show begins, my friends. Stand in line and get your tickets. I hope you will attend. It'll only cost you 50 cents to see what life has done to those like you and me. So let the sideshow begin. Hurry, hurry, step right on in. Can't afford to pass it by. Hey Regina, good morning. Hey Tracy. We're going to call this series that I'm going to do on a pretty regular basis Sideshow. And the reason for doing it is because I want to encourage and inspire other people to step outside of their comfort zone and let their creative side have some space. Most of us are so busy working on a daily and ongoing basis that we forget that we're more than one-dimensional human beings. So that's my goal. That might not be perfect or might not be well received, but it's a whole nother thing to actually do it yourself. So I figure this morning I'm going to start with one of my poems. Very few people know that I am a poet, and I have some poetry that I'm pretty proud of. I don't publicize it, and I haven't really taken the time to exploit it, but I'm not getting any younger, so I might as well put it out here while I can. This poem that I'm going to do today is called Runaway Slave, and it's inspired by the fact that from 1619 to 1865 we had 246 years of legalized slavery in America, and it took the Underground Railroad, the Civil War, the suspension of the Constitution, the Emancipation Proclamation, and 2 constitutional amendments to finally end that shamefully brutal institution. And our youth really don't understand how slavery has impacted us. As a matter of fact, all the ills, idiosyncrasies, dysfunctional attributes prevalent in African American are attributable to slavery, Jim Crow, integration, the failure of integration, and our own inability to support one another and to rise. So let's get started. I'm the descendant of an African whom Massa gave the nonsensical label, runaway slave, a pejorative oxymoron, ridiculous but grave, criminalizing the brave who wouldn't stay on the plantation and behave. I censure the decision of the Pale Enclave to conjoin the mutually exclusive terms runaway and slave as a means of manufacturing an irrational phrase which demeans my ancestor in multitudinous ways. If you scrutinize that flawed terminology with your third eye focused on linguistic veracity, you'll see how incompatible and contradictory the words runaway and slave are categorically. Hear ye, verily I submit to thee. The phrase runaway slave should be erased from the annals of history, banished from the English vocabulary, forbidden for all eternity, never to be seen, written, or uttered publicly. As from the cup of truth I sip, I admit that upon the docking of the ship, my ancestor was chained and in Massa's grip, sold at auction, evidenced by a parchment slip, which fails in its purport as a certificate of slave ownership. For one is not a slave because of legal declaration, nor does slavery result from physical incarceration. Holding one against their will with government validation Forcing them to pick cotton without compensation doesn't support slave status confirmation. To enslave someone, you must alter their mentality and break their will to be free. Defiantly like an oak tree, resolutely like African ivory, my ancestor wouldn't surrender integrity despite masses' plea. Whipped, beaten, and called a foul name, enduring punishment wrought with shame, my ancestor dreamed beyond the slave game, vowing until death to remain, another warrior massa could not tame. This final epitaph on my ancestor's grave, of my refusal to submit, don't boast and rave, just erase from my tombstone the label Runaway Slave. So that's Runaway Slave. It's a poem that I'm pretty proud of. I wrote that probably 10 years ago. So thanks for tuning in. I'm not going to bore you with a long dissertation about poetry and my love for poetry, but over a period of time you'll see me come back and do this, as well as sing and just enjoy myself. I think it's important that I use Facebook as a means of establishing a relationship with my Facebook friends and give them an opportunity to see who I am and the kind of things that I enjoy doing and the kind of things that inspire me. And as I said, inspire some other people.